Sorry about that. This is going to be a two-part video. So I was showing you the pasta. This is a little bit more than a pound because I made it last night, and I'm taking this to my family who lost their mother. I'm taking this over to them tonight. So I already cooked it, but this is what it would look like, okay? So now we go to putting it together. So let's come over here and see if you can see what we're doing here. All right, but maybe if I do this, I could pop it up like this, you can see what we're doing better. All right, so the first thing, I'm sorry, we need to look back at the directions. Next thing it says to do is to put a layer of pasta in a deep baking dish. All right, so we're going to take, and I should have said half of the pasta. When you write recipes, you got to make sure that you're accurate. But I don't really want to do half the pasta in here because I have that pan that's smaller on the bottom. And so the layer on top is going to be a lot. We're going to want more macaroni for that layer. So I'm pouring here, let me turn this. I don't know if you can see. I'm pouring my macaroni into the bowl. And I still have a fair amount left. Okay, I'm going to spread this out so you can see how much I have on the bottom. This is quite a bit of pasta. I don't usually have this much on my bottom layer, but there you go. So it's about not quite half full in here. And then the next step is to salt and pepper the pasta liberally. And I told you I'd show you what I meant by liberally. When I salt and pepper my pasta, this is what I do. I take it and I give it a good sprinkle. So the whole layer has a good sprinkling of salt. And then I need a videographer. A videographer is somebody who takes videos. I should have had my daughter helping me do this, okay? We like ours pretty peppery. I might have put a little bit too much pepper in there for my family. I'm not sure how much they like that. Then I stir on the bottom layer. I can't do this on the top layer, but on the bottom layer, I stir it up like this. I just stir it so everything is mixed in. That salt and pepper gets down to the bottom layer. And then I sprinkle it again. I'm not going to use so much pepper, and another layer of salt. Okay? After that, the next thing we're going to do is read the step of directions. And that says to cut 10 to 12 slices, thin slices of butter and scatter on the layer of pasta. So I've already sliced up the butter here. Can you see this butter here? I've sliced this up in very thin slices, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to place these slices across the top of the pasta. Ooh, they're kind of soft now, sticking together because I did them ahead of time. Didn't think about that. Oh my. Well, things just aren't quite, and I can't pause this. I thought I could pause it and come back. That makes it a little difficult. So we're going to keep putting some pasta or some butter on here. We're going to have to cut some more butter. And it said 10 to 12 slices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, we're going to definitely need some more slices here. So that's pretty good for that layer. And I'll show you what I mean when I tell you to slice it thin. I'm hoping you can see this here. And let's put it on a little cutting board. All right, that'll help. All right, so now I have it on a cutting board. I don't know if you can see this very well, but I'm going to try it. All right, here we go. It's on the cutting board, and this was a full stick of butter, but now it is, I'm going to take it off of here so you can see it better. There we go. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to cut some thin slices. And now that it's soft, it's a little harder to cut. So I'm going to just cut some thin slices here too. These are for the top layer. I think we're going to end up using a stick of butter only because this butter is soft. Anyway, I'm sorry that this has taken a little bit here to cut the butter. So this is a good recipe, by the way. While I'm cutting this, I'll tell you. You know, a lot of times you look in your cupboards and you think, what am I going to make for dinner? I don't have anything. But if you have a box of pasta and you have a bag of cheese, you don't need much else. A little bit of milk, flour, salt and pepper, butter, and that's it. So it's a good thing if you don't have, I know a lot of you guys like Kraft mac and cheese, and in my opinion, this is much better. All right, so I have those slices ready for the next part. Let's see what it says to do next. It says to sprinkle with almost half of the flour. So if we have, it says 1/4 cup of flour, and I have these really cool little nesting cups, measuring cups that my daughter got me. And it even has a 2/3 a cup and a 3/4 cup, which is awesome. This is the 1/4 cup, and it tells me in the bottom here, that's a 1/4 cup. So I take my flour, this is my flour, and take a scoop of that and pour it in. This is what I do. I get it all in there. Now I want to ask you, do you think this is a 1/4 cup of flour? No, this is a lot more than a 1/4 cup of flour. It needs to be level. So I need to take a knife like this. That was not a good idea. All right, I'm not going to use a sharp knife. That's just not a good idea. We're going to use a table knife. And now I'm going to turn the screen so you can see. Oh, I've got my flour here, and I'm going to take the straight edge of my knife, this edge over here, not the part that cuts. I take my straight edge and start over here, and I slide across, and I level it out, okay? This is called a level 1/4 cup, okay? And it said I was only going to use half of it. So when I go to put this in, here's my pan. When I go to put this in, it's actually easier to sprinkle if you have a spoon or something. So I'm going to take it and I'm just going to go across the top of it and sprinkle and sprinkle some more. Oh, that was a big glob. You want to try to make sure it's spread out without huge globs. What this does is a lot of times when you make macaroni and cheese, you make a roux first. And a roux is like flour and milk, and you mix it together, and it's like a thickening. It thickens things. So if something's runny, that will make it thicker. And we want to make sure when we do this, I'm spreading it out. You want to make sure you get the flour in there because that's what thickens it up. And some people like it thicker, some people like it runnier, but you still, regardless, you want a good layer. You can just determine how thick or runny it is by how much milk you put in. All right, so this is what it looks like. We have a good layer of flour on the top. And now the last step for this layer says to cover with cheese. So I'm going to take my cheese and open it. And my daughter was cooking with her nephews, and they said, "Boy, are you a messy cooker." And she said, "It's okay. It's all right. You can be messy. You just have to clean up when you're done." All right, so now we're taking the cheese and sprinkling the cheese on the top of it. And like I said, we like a lot of cheese. So I'm trying, you want to make sure you get this pretty well covered. And then what I do, because I like to make sure the cheese goes down in, is I like to take my knife and kind of, this is what it looks like right now. There's a few holes still where the butter are. That's the butter sticking out. And you want to take it and kind of shove that cheese down. It will melt down in, but you want to shove it down. Oops. My butter stuck to my knife. And then if you want, you can take cheese and kind of fill in any places, any holes where you feel like there isn't quite enough cheese. And for me, that would be, I'll probably use most of this first bag on this layer because, like I said, I put more macaroni in here than I typically do. Typically means normally. All right, so now we're ready for the next layer, and we do the same things. So what was the first step? Remember, you can go back and look at your recipe. It says that you need to put in your pasta. All right, so I'm going to take some pasta and pour it in and make another layer and spread it out. All right, and this is a pretty good layer. This is a pretty big pan of macaroni and cheese. This is definitely more than a pound. All right, and then after that, you remember what we did? The directions said, and I'm not going to keep pulling up the directions because I want to make that, I don't want this to go on too long. I'm sprinkling on my pepper, getting a layer of pepper, getting a layer of salt. And if you want, you can take your knife and try to work it in just a little bit, but you can't stir it the same way we did on the bottom layer. So you can kind of move it around and make sure that that salt and pepper is getting dispersed so the pasta underneath gets seasoned as well. Salt and pepper are seasonings. So we're going to take this, put a little bit, remember after you do it, you put another little layer. The pasta really absorbs the spices or the seasonings, okay? And then the next step was to put in the butter. So we're gonna put our pats of butter our pats of butter across here. I really wish I could pause this in between so you guys didn't have to wait so long. I apologize for that. But we're gonna finish this up. And I'm going to real quickly, yes, I did. This is probably 1.5 pounds of pasta, or at least 1.33 pounds. So we will be using a whole stick here because it is more pasta, and I want to make sure that it's got enough butter for all that pasta. So hold on, we're almost there. How many of you like macaroni and cheese? I bet I think macaroni and cheese is like one of the #1 favorites from kids I've pulled in the past. That's something, but I bet most of you eat Kraft mac and cheese. All right, let's look at this. I have I have all my pats of butter on there. And what was the next step? It was the flour. So I'm going to leave this here so you can watch. I have about a half of the flour. You can't really see that in there. But we have about half of the flour. And I'm going to take my spoon and sprinkle it over the top. And we may need a little more flour for this because it's a pretty big pan of pasta. And we definitely need a little bit more. That's not something you really need to measure out so much, is just kind of make sure you've got a layer, not too thick, but that it's pretty well covered. And there we go. We're calling that quits. And then what comes after that? Remember? Last step, it's the cheese. So I'm going to use the rest of this bag of cheese. Remember, that was 8 ounces. So I'm taking my cheese and sprinkling it on top. And then I'm going to open up my other one. My sister always uses slices of cheese, but I've gotten kind of lazy, and this just makes it so much quicker. I can throw this together, well, by the time I have to boil the macaroni, so that takes a good 7 minutes. But after that, I can throw this together in probably 15 minutes at the most. And it's super quick, super easy, and almost everybody likes it. It's one of those, I don't know about your house, but in my house, almost always there's somebody who's not crazy about the dinner you're making. But we always had a rule, you gotta at least taste it. If you don't like it, then you can go make your own peanut butter and jelly sandwich, because that's your other option. So, I'm just gonna use the rest of this cheese. And there we go. Take a look. This is what it looks like, and it's ready to put in the oven. So, I took pictures of what it looked like. I don't know where my phone is. Just a second. Hopefully, yep, it's right here. And last night I told you we had this, and I took pictures of it so that you would be able to see what it looks like. And when it's finished, this is what it looks like. And when we cut it open, last night, you can see I put too much milk in last night, okay? Oh, we didn't put the milk in. Always go back and check your recipe. That helped me remember, but I have forgotten to put the milk in before, because I don't read a recipe, because I know the recipe, but I just forgot. So you need to put in 2 cups of milk, and that is depending on how milky you like it. If you like it milkier, you can put in more. If you like it less milky, you can put in less. So I'm going to pour my 2 cups. This is my measuring cup, and you can see the marks over here. This says 2 cups, but also on the inside of this measuring cup, it has lines here, so I can also tell where it is. And 2 cups, look, 2 cups is 16 ounces. OZ stands for ounces, okay? So I'm gonna take my milk, and I'm gonna stand back from my computer because I don't want to take a chance on spilling it on my computer. And I fill it up until it gets to that line. Now, I may not need all of this, or I might need more. So, you can watch here. I'm going to take it and just pour it over the top. sure you get it all over, okay? And I know since I have so much pasta, when I tilt my pan, I like to be able to just barely see it. And I think I need a little bit more. But my family always says, Mom, you always end up making it too milky. And they love it still, but they like it a little thicker. I'm going to pour another cup. Pour my last cup in here. And I'm going to stop halfway in between before I pour it all and see if it looks like I need it. And I think that little extra is not going to hurt. So it's all ready. When you go to put it in the oven, you need to make sure once again that you have your hot pads. Take your hot pads, and this would be best if you had your parents do, okay? Open the oven, and then you're gonna lift it up with the hot pads and slide it in the oven. But I don't want you guys to burn your hands, so don't do that without an adult. This is not a recipe to make without an adult, but it would be a fun thing for you and your parents to do at home while you're home in this period of time all together. And anyway, I hope you enjoy your meal, and I'll see you next week. I'll see you soon.